Morning, Chris. All right, we're with Chris O'Keefe, third male finisher in the race across the West, 2012. Finished in how long, Chris?
75 hours.
75 hours. And we are heading back from Durango now to the Bay Area. It's Monday, June 18th. Okay, Chris, tell us about your race.
Yeah, it was a very good race. Probably perfect in 80% of the ways. Very challenging now because there's no other race over 500 miles other than this, unless you want to go to Ireland or do Ram. So this gives you an opportunity to go beyond 500, which is a very good learning experience. So I've been mentally preparing for this for a long time, and pretty strong physical shape for a lot of short stuff, but not really anything long. Haven't done a 500 miler since the 508 in October, and this ride, was all prepped by just short 20-minute workouts, 2 to 4 hour long rides on the weekend, and a lot of intensity, a lot of intervals. So I didn't know what to expect, and I was hoping it was going to go well, and it did go well. But I learned a lot because it was a very long, a lot of completely different type of riding than I'm used to.
As far as physically, did that type of training sufficient just on the physical fitness piece?
Yeah, from a pure physical fitness place, I'd say yes. And probably the shape of my life in terms of the local climbs, the benchmark climbs, the wattage, all that. But so that part was good. So I had no problems going up any of the climbs or handling any of the. The hard thing is on ultra cycling, it's not so much about the watts, it's really the comfort and your ability to continue pedaling without stopping and without getting off the bike. And I had not done a lot of that, and I think that's where I suffered a lot, because the ability for me to sit on the bike hour after hour after hour after hour without getting off is something I need to work on. It's quite difficult mentally to do that, and I think that's the difference between the top people and everybody else.
So when you're on the bike, say 10, 15 hours in a day, what's going through your head?
Nothing much. Just looking at the next signpost ahead, looking at the next hill, looking around, trying to enjoy the scenery, thinking about what I'm listening to, some music, just focusing on nothing really, because it's such a long race. If you think about anything concrete, I think you start to get a little bit negative in your thoughts and start to freak out. So you really have to try to purge your mind of any kind of conscious thought and just zone out. That's the only way you can do something like this.
Okay, so let's talk food for a few minutes. You had sort of a baseline, what we called the treatment, which you can explain, and then you supplemented or worked around that baseline with various foods. I think that was kind of a change in your racing strategy. So how'd you come up with that, and how did it work? And just to explain it in brief.
Sure. Well, I've been reading about how to fuel for ultra events. I followed a few sports nutritionists. One of them is called Asker You Can Drop, and he recommends this for Ironman level events. Just taking in maltodextrin and fructose. Maltodextrin 2 parts, 1 part fructose, without any protein. And his theory is that this is a really good fueling strategy for up to 8 to 10 hours for an elite Ironman event, and he's trained Haile Gebrselassie and the marathon side, as well as Christy Wellington, to good success. So I followed that approach in a lot of the doubles and some other events, and for the most part, it's worked out pretty well. Very simple, cheap approach. It tastes good, it's light, keeps you going, but it's not the kind of thing you can do for the whole ultra like this. You do need to eat protein, you do need to eat fat, you do need all kinds of various foods with various levels of salt and you name it. So while it's a good base strategy, and we did eat a lot of it, we did have to basically go into the omnivore diet, which was like pretty much anything and everything we could get down we would do. Oh, great.
Thank you very much.
So we good? Okay, good. So nice fruit there. Speaking of omnivores, but yeah. Oh, you meet a lot of ultra people have a very kind of doctrinaire, rigid approach to their fueling strategies, and but there are the schools of people that just eat whatever they can eat. One of the originals, Lon Haldeman, I've heard him interviewed where he just would eat anything he could, McDonald's, Burger King, you name it. And my experience on a ride this long is, eat as much junk food as you can get down, milkshakes, hamburgers, French fries, anything, because you're going to burn it off, and I think it's gonna pay off in the long run, because you need that. I found like after a big feeding of 1,000 calories of that kind of stuff, I would have a good couple hours of pretty solid power, and it worked well.
Let's see. You had a couple of physical issues that I think, as we discussed, maybe doing the shorter training, you didn't dial in some of the bike aspects, maybe using the time trial bike too excessively. How'd you get through those moments?
Yeah, well, hadn't really ridden the time trial bike more than 80 miles ever, so this ride has tons of flats, tons of great opportunity for the time trial bike. Unfortunately, didn't have the bike dialed as well as I needed to, and while making really good time on it, I noticed some knee pain starting to kick up after about 150 miles on it, and to the point where we hit Parker, Arizona, my knee started to really flare up, and it was a very sharp pain, and it was actually very concerning that it was going to affect the ability for me to finish the race. So that was one of those challenges we had to really kind of work with the crew and think about how we could deal with it. So we had to really come up with kind of like a good improvisation on the bike. So we had to raise up the seat, do all that kind of stuff, and until we finally figured out that there was a problem with the time trial setup.
Okay. All right, that's probably enough. Anything you want to add? Any final thoughts? And next goal? All right. I'm gonna stop and restart it.
No, this was a great experience. Again, it's when you dream about these things, it takes for a long time, months and years, and when you finally get to do them, all that mental preparation, and physical preparation, if done properly, makes the event kind of like a piece of cake. And with the few problems I had, I'd have to say that it went almost to plan. We never really had any real super down periods. We were able to recover from everything and in good style and form, make it all the way to Durango. So I'm really, really happy, and we had a great crew, and you guys made it possible. So I just wanted to, say thank you very much.
I'm gonna introduce Martin Brooks. He's the man who can do everything on the crew: masseuse, mechanic, general morale booster, and rockhound. So he has some questions, and nutritional, physical, and mental theorist. Martin has a question for you, Chris.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your evolution as a racer? You started doing doubles, and you were like at the end of the pack, and over the years you moved up to this ultra event where it's you're with the elite guys. How did that happen?
Just like anything, if you work at it, you get better. You just have to continue to improve, continue to work on your fitness, continue to get stronger. I think anybody can do that if they're willing to put the time in and focus on it.
Did you envision where you were headed with this when you started? Did you sort of want to end up here, or did you just sort of think that, well, I'll try this and I'll see how I do, and did you ever get discouraged, again in the beginning where you were sort of at the end of the pack?
Yeah, I mean, there was moments of coming up, I started off doing the sport kind of pretty out of shape and overweight, and so there was moments when it was painful. I've always liked to challenge myself, so right after I started riding my bike, I started doing doubles, and I did the hardest double when I wasn't supposed to do it, like within a year of riding, and everyone's like, no, you shouldn't do that one, it's too hard. And so that was always been my approach, like just like take the hardest thing, move to the next level. Hearing about people doing 500 miles and how ridiculous that seemed, and I want to try that, and signing up and then just doing it, and then just keeping the progression up, and then reading about RAM and studying it, understanding it, and realizing that, I want to do that someday. And so definitely it's been a good progression, not too much frustration, and I've always sort of thought that I'm going to do RAM. I remember a friend of mine a long time ago giving me a hard time saying, I bet you're going to do RAM one of these days, and he's probably right. I think that's kind of where it's going to head, and after that we'll see.
Okay, breakfast is here. We'll keep you posted on Chris's RAM ambitions and his cruise ambitions as well. All right. Thank you.